Okay. So our first speaker is Nick Chubb, and if any of you were listening to my talk about placements and putting together your CV, I put some links to Nick's website and blog in that presentation, and that was what connected me with Nick. But I've known IDC as a company for many years.
Yeah.
So Nick is a designer at IDC, and I'm going to hand over to you, but do you want to give Nick a big welcome?
Thank you. Thank you very much. So just first off, I just want to kind of understand who I'm speaking to. So can you just raise your hand if you're in your first year? And then second year? And then just the other people, what are the others doing? Third year, fourth year? Right. Postgraduates as well? All right, okay. Cool. So, yeah, Stephen spoke about, you guys getting out there and landing design placements. So there's a bit about me and my background and a bit about IDC, but I kind of want to bring you guys as much value as possible. So as many points as I could about specific ways that you can go about landing a placement. So there's 4 outcomes really. You can either get no placement, you can get the placement that you don't really want, you could get the placement that you sort of want, or wouldn't it be wonderful if every single one of you could land the placement that you really wanted and that was the one you wanted most. So a couple of things that are going to get you there: effort, which I can't control, and the effectiveness of the actions you take. So if you're not doing the right things but you're putting in loads of effort, it's never going to get you there. So hopefully I can just bring a bit of value and sharing my thoughts on what I believe to be effective when landing a placement. So, as I said, I work for IDC, Industrial Design Consultancy. We are a full-service product development agency. We've been going for 45 years this year. It's our 45th anniversary. We work in consumer products, medical devices and healthcare projects, industrial equipment, and also transport projects as well. So working there, you get to experience a real breadth of projects. So a few examples of a few projects. Top left, this was a coffee machine for Mars. Next one along, moving from that, but orthopedic instruments. So even just there in those two, the difference in what you're exposed to as a consultancy is just massive. Next one along, this was it's for sports broadcasting. So when you watch the Champions League final and you see the replay come up for a good 5 seconds, someone had to find that clip, and this is quite a niche product, which is what the sports broadcasters use to put that together. This one here is what surgeons use to apply an adhesive during surgery. And so projects like that, you have to, you might be observing a surgeon or video footage of a surgery. You're having to develop insights through that and then translate that into features of the product and making it practical to use. This was an interface that went into a smart car. It's for a company called Visteon. This is an infusion pump. The one on the bottom left is a video laryngoscope. So this is what a doctor would use to go down and look at the area of your larynx. If you're wondering what the Red Bull car is, we have a sort of an arm within our business called IDC Models, which is a prototyping service. So the head designer at Red Bull was asked, if you didn't have to follow all the rules and regulations of Formula One, what would the car look like? And so he designed it, and IDC Models were asked to create a full-scale prototype, which was for an event for PlayStation, because the car was actually in one of the latest Gran Turismo games. So it's quite exciting just getting this exposure to all these different areas. Every different project requires you to just dive in and taking all those from concept to production. Obviously, certain projects you're not going all the way from a blank piece of paper all the way through to production. Some projects are like that, and others the client might require just one segment of that process. So you get a mix in that way as well. One of the things about IDC, we did a study over a 3-year period. 92% of every project we'd worked on ended up going into the market. So it just gives you an idea of how many projects you'll actually get through to production and see them on the shelves, which is a great part of it. So a bit about me, my journey started at Sheffield Hallam in Sheffield. So there I did a 4-year course, did a master's degree in design, and this was my final major project, which was a birthing chair. So I spent just over a year of my life just learning about giving birth, which requires, when you pick an area like that you know nothing about, it requires you to dive in. And it was awesome because I was speaking to recent mothers, midwives, I was talking to doctors, people who were anticipating going in to give birth, who were kind of people who were thinking about having a baby, talking to people like the cleaners who clean the equipment, the people who have to fix this equipment. And when you talk to all these different types of people, it starts moulding it in different ways. My background, so when I was at university, I'd always kind of done graphic work, and I worked with a marketing agency doing websites and web usability and analysis in that way, and learned a bit about SEO and marketing strategies for small and medium-sized businesses. But my first product design internship was actually in cookware. So I was designing for clients like Bizbell and Homebase and Taylor's Eyewitness, Sabatia, these types of people. And so I was designing knives and just other kitchenware items. Then I was moved into doing a bit of furniture, and the main job that I then moved into was for Mamas and Papas, designing nursery products. I then went into outdoor gear and then packaging, and then more recently consumer electronics, consumer products, medical devices and healthcare projects. So I've kind of seen quite a big spread of projects in different industry sectors. So these are some of the clients that I've been lucky enough to do projects on and stuff like that. So the first role, Mamas and Papas, I think it's really important for me when I was trying to land a job that the job I had, I wanted it to cover not just doing the same thing every day, but actually deploying different skills within design. So part of my role at Mamas and Papas, I could be prototyping in the morning, I could be doing user trials just before lunch, I might be doing a bit of CAD work or sketch work and ideas and concept generation later in the afternoon, and you got a real mix day to day of the types of things you were doing. That was one of the really great things I liked about that role. This is a product called the Armadillo Flip, so that's currently in Mamas and Papas stores at the moment. That was the main project that I worked on. My main role after that was working for a company called LifeMark, who own 3 brands, Life Venture, Little Life and Life Systems. If you walk into any Blacks, Cotswolds, Go Outdoors, all these types of shops, you'll see these products everywhere. So again, not only was I taking products from concept to production, which required that spread of skills, which is what I was looking for in a role, but the fact there was 3 brands, not just Mamas and Papas where I was doing one brand, I quite liked that there was 3 different brands that I was working for. And so there was things like kids backpacks, like this Buzz Lightyear backpack over here. There was like water filtration bottles and thermal mugs, structural packaging, all sorts of stuff for the outdoor industry really. Another thing, typically when you work in-house, you end up, it's really quite a commercial position, this one. It was very brand heavy and really quite commercial, made me very business aware, this position. And one of the main things is you get to go and travel and go to trade shows and stuff like this. So if you're into outdoor gear, this is the largest trade show in the world every year in Friedrichshafen in Germany. You've literally got every single outdoor brand under the sun. Another great thing that I love about the positions that I like is getting to travel. And so not just trade shows, but going out to the Far East and doing research in hospitals, or whether it's going and seeing suppliers and injection moulding factories and this sort of thing. So learning about new processes was also an important thing that I look for in a role. The one on the far left, this is a screen printing factory in Qingdao in northern China. This is Shanghai in the middle, and you know, traveling, you just kind of get to see cool stuff and opens you up. So this was the first picture I ever took on my first trip to China of a toilet. I quite liked it. And so something else I've been getting involved with in the last 5 years, I've been getting involved every year at New Designers Exhibition with a company called Arts Thread. If you've not heard of these guys, I'd write that down now and check them out. It's run by a friend of mine called Alex, who the competitions that they're landing for design students is just awesome. We've had people we've run competitions with Nike, and the students who've then won those competitions have earned themselves 3-month internships at Nike Global HQ in Oregon, come back in their third year after having 3 months at Nike. We've had competitions with Urban Outfitters. People who've won those competitions then get their design in store. There's competitions with Levi's, BBC Worldwide, Eastpak, really awesome brands, really great opportunity. Some of them have cash prizes as well for the winners. But you can also put your portfolio on there. I think there's about 70,000 portfolios. You'll have heard of other sites like this, like Behance and Coraflot. Arts Thread is very similar. They've got a very good relationship with Coraflot, and I thoroughly suggest you check that out. So, moving on to some of the portfolio stuff and things that's going to help you land a placement, I'm able to stand here and give this advice because I've received such great advice myself from some pretty big hitters in the industry. So, this lady in the bottom left, Amina, she was the lead industrial designer at Fuse Project, and she wrote this book called Breaking In Product Design, where she interviewed the top 100 design directors in the world. We're talking massive, massive brands, directors at the time, and basically asked them all the same questions. So she asked them, what do you look for in a design portfolio? Can you tell us about a design portfolio that's caught your eye in the last 6 months? Where do you see design going? All of them the same question. So when I heard about this book, I thought, well, if she's met the top 100 design directors in the world, she's probably a good person to know. So I tried to break through to her for a little while and managed to get kind of 2 one-hour Skype sessions with her, one-to-one feedback on my own portfolio. And that kind of approach of just getting out there and trying to meet people is going to do you massive favours. So basically I started going through the book one by one, right, who else can I try and get some feedback from? And so you're going to get a lot of great feedback doing that approach and just constantly refining. But a lot of what I'm about to say is, there's some of my opinions in there, but when these types of people are all saying the same things, you know it's just not your opinion, and you know it's got a lot of value to it. So the first point is, when you put your portfolio together, really, really important that you're showing your process. Don't just be showing render after render after render of the final product. You really need to be showing the thinking and the process that got you there. That's what's the most important thing, the thinking. And you need to show it, and show it in a visual way. You know, do these at New Designers, kind of like the last 4 or 5 years, we've done these portfolio reviews. It's kind of like speed dating, but they get to sit down with 10 minutes to go through the portfolio, and it's just render after render after render. And you know, that's not what people want to see. So show your process. The other point is, it's not about selling your products and selling your ideas. You've done these projects, most of you, to get a job. Probably not because there's one of those products that you believe in and you want investment and you want to develop. Most people are doing them because they want to look good to get a job as a designer. So it's not about trying to get investment for your products. Your portfolio shouldn't look like a brochure for your product. You're trying to sell you. And so what's a great thing to do is to note down all the skills you have. And I don't mean just write a list of your skills in your portfolio. Just separately write down all the skills you have as a designer, and make sure in the projects that you show that you're showing these abilities. I had an interview once. I wasn't long out of university with a company called 257 in Manchester, and he didn't say this, I kind of turned it into this, but it was quite frustrating because I believed that I had all these skills, but there was just no evidence of it in my portfolio. So many things that I knew I could do and I wasn't proving it. So it's this idea of, if I can't see it, you can't do it. And if you're not showing that you've got a skill, then how else are they meant to know that you can do it? So that's just quite a nice exercise to do. Just make sure you're including these skills. Another point is to show your best. A lot of people ask me, how many projects should I be putting in? Is 10 too many? Is 3, is that too few? And there is no right answer, because it's totally dependent on what those projects are showing. So if you've got 2 projects and both of those projects show everything you can do incredibly well, well, then that's enough. You don't need 20 projects. It's not about quantity, it's the quality of the work you show. Now, saying that 2 probably is not enough. I'd say 3 minimum, but yeah, if you stick with 3 minimum, as long as you're showing those skills and the thinking behind the projects, that's the most important thing. Having said that, you do want to show renders, because obviously that's one of your skills, and you do want to show the designs. I'm just saying show the thinking as well. So this is something I hear loads going through portfolios. Les is laughing over there, which is you get to a page in the portfolio or on screen or whatever, and this kind of get a bit sheepish. What's this? Oh yeah, you can flick past that one. Well, why have you got it in then? You know, if you're ashamed of it, a design director with 20 years experience is going to absolutely slate it. Get it out. And if that is you, then retrospectively go back and do work on it. Don't think that when you do a project and that's it, and then you go on to your next one and, oh, hopefully this project is better than that one. Nobody cares when you did your projects. They just want to see some awesome design work. It's not showing a timeline of you, just show some awesome design work. And so there's absolutely nothing wrong with a project that you did in first year, and now you're kind of late in your third year putting your portfolio together. If it was a nice idea, go back and redo it. There's nothing wrong with that. Another question I get is whether you should include graphic design. My answer is no, because your portfolio as a product designer, as an industrial designer, should be a shining example of how great you are as a graphic designer. The portfolio itself put together and really curated and really considered about the order, how you've laid it out, it should look absolutely stunning. And so if you've kind of, designed a menu for a pub down the road, leave it out. You're trying to show that you're an amazing product designer, that you're the man for the job of the role of a product designer. So show that first. That's the absolute main thing. All of this comes secondary to that. And the other thing is that I actually don't believe that there's anything called a portfolio. I believe it's applications and interviews. And what I mean by that is you should be absolutely tailoring your portfolio to each place you apply for. So your research into that business to begin with should tell you what they're looking for, and you can adapt. Unless you're very confident that you only don't want to do one thing. And things like this, and whether you're awesome at photography, so many product designers have a heavy interest in photography, and kind of the photography stuff is like taking up half the portfolio. Those kind of side things, show them in the interview. The application portfolio is what's going to land you an interview. Then in the interview, you can start talking about these other skills, but focus on the primary thing in the portfolio. Which leads me to this point, which is the goal of your application portfolio isn't to land you a job. Nobody is going to look at your portfolio, ring you up and say, right, we want to offer you a contract, please sign here. You're always going to get an interview before that point. So the goal of the portfolio isn't to land you a job, it's to land you an interview. And when you realise that and take that mindset, loads of crap starts coming out of the portfolio. and it starts getting really streamlined and really focused, and all these sort of massive paragraphs of text, it needs to be really visually impactful, really visual. It's way too easy to just write a massive block of text about the project. It ain't going to land you shit. You need to show this visually. It's got to be visual. So all the things that it's too easy to just write a paragraph of text. I did this, I've got these skills, I can do that. Where's the evidence? It's all got to be visual, all got to be in the portfolio. Which leads on to the next point, which is less adjectives. Find a strong message that's bullshit free. There are so many applications we get for internships and jobs where junior designers, I'm sure Les will agree, it's so cringeworthy, some of the lines. It's like, as someone reviewing portfolios, you kind of have a little chuckle and then hit delete. Just stick to the facts. Everything you show, make sure it's either A, evidence-based, or something that you believe as a designer. If you say, I believe so-and-so, nobody can argue against that. If you say, I'm a genius, I'm the best at design, I'm like, there was one, and it's like, I know creativity like the flavour of my favourite ice cream. It's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Just... There's a great term, I absolutely love it. It runs through everything I do when I talk about this stuff. And it's silent validation. If you say to someone, I'm trustworthy, it means nothing. If you tell me you're trustworthy, it does absolutely nothing to impact how trustworthy I think you are. That comes with evidence and actions over time. And so, if you're creative, don't say, I'm creative, show me. And that's kind of one of the absolute main things I want you to take away from this is really, if you think something, don't just say it, show it. If you're not well versed in InDesign as a program, you need to see this as the time that you're going to master InDesign. There's no other tool you should be using. Around 5 meg, don't go over 10 meg. I'd also get everything all in one PDF. So a lot of people, they'll send a cover letter as a PDF or write it in the email. They'll send a CV and they'll send a portfolio. Why is that not just all in one PDF? Because now if I want to show that to my director, you know, it's just much easier to forward that and they've got everything that they need to make a decision to bring you in. Another thing to just kind of realize is that it's a global stage now. And you're not just competing with each other in this room or at another university. We've got people in our Shanghai studio who are, you know, from Portugal, Mongolia, China, France. We've had people in our office in the UK that, you know, from all nationalities. It's a global stage and you've got to think big. The other thing is that you need to realize that you're not even just competing against people who are looking for a placement. If I own my own business and I'm considering hiring a design intern, that decision has been made in comparison to, nah, actually let's spend a little bit more money and get a senior designer, right? And so when you realize that you're competing against everyone and that as a business owner, that decision is being made. It's not just, we're having an intern, let's find the best one. You know, you're competing against all positions. As a business owner, that decision is being made, and you just realise that. There's a massive, massive opportunity for you guys that I did. When I was at university, Instagram wasn't a thing. And it's insane how important this is. Every single person in this room should be on Instagram. Every single person here who's doing a major project next year should be documenting that journey. You should be really, really getting in to the details of how to market yourself and using Instagram. This tool is insane. Opportunities that have come my way just through Instagram, it's unbelievable. Put it this way, I'm here today because Stephen saw a video of me on YouTube. you've got to be documenting what you do, especially your major project. Which leads me on to this, which is a quote from Jay-Z. He said, "I'm not a businessman, I'm a businessman." And you've got to take this exact same approach. When you're trying to land a job and you're trying to land a placement, think of yourself as a business. If you were a business and you were trying to find your big fish, your ideal customers and clients, you'd be asking yourself, okay, where can I find them in their highest concentration? You'd be going to the events, you'd be speaking to people, you'd be reaching out, you'd be networking, and that's what you need to do. You'd be marketing yourself, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. You need to be absolutely all over the web, pumping out content so that people can discover you. If you're not putting anything out there, no one's going to discover you. A LinkedIn profile isn't good enough. You need to be everywhere, all the time, with discoverable content online. Oh, error. There we go. Go on. So, as a plug, my website, nickchubbdesign.com, you can subscribe to my own blog. I actively try to put out content that benefits students. Portfolio tips, the types of things I'm saying here. I share projects, software tutorials, all this sort of stuff. My latest post was titled Final Major Project Ideas for Product Design Students. You can check that out if you want. But definitely think about how you can create more of a presence online. LinkedIn, Behance, Coraflot, ArtsThread, start there, and social media platforms. But you need to be discoverable with content, and not only just generating this content, but what are you doing to make as many people as possible who you want to see it, what are you doing to make sure that they are going to see it? Just give you an example about sort of networking and getting it out there. This post that it just went live about 2 days ago. Alex, who owns ArtsThread, I'm going to be getting on the phone and speaking to him on the phone to say, hi, I'm going to be publishing something on LinkedIn. His contact list is insane. Can you share it? It's that direct. I know, you know, lots of people, please can you share this post? That's what I want, and he's happy to do it. The other thing is, people aren't going to do things for you like that if you're not putting yourself out there doing things for other people. So whenever you can just add value to others, do it as much as you can so that you can be ringing in favours like that. Just another example, there was a guy that I showed from those kind of 6 faces. There's a guy called Russell Beard, he's the head of design at Kinnear du Fort. When I was mainly looking for a job when I first graduated, I called him up and said, do you know, on LinkedIn, if somebody checks out your profile, you can see who they are. I just rang him up and said, I'm going to be looking at your profile every single day for the next kind of 2 weeks, so just to give you a heads up, because your contact list is amazing. So I went through that, and then I got back in touch and said, okay, can you introduce me to these 5 people? These 5 people are the most relevant who I want to meet. Ended up giving me the details for 2 of them, got in touch. One of them was another one of the faces there, who was the design director at Zebra Design in Portland in America, who I then got to review my portfolio. You've got to be networking, and you've got to just think, who do I want to see my work? If it isn't anywhere to be seen, that's not going to happen, so that's step 1. And then it's the networking in the system around it to get exposure to what you've created. You've got to be doing this. And that's my talk, so thank you very much.